Thank you very much. My name is Daniel. I'm the Vice President of our business unit, which we call Compliant Cloud, which is essentially customers that have higher regulatory demands than we can provide in our public IaaS. As you might know, we have a public IaaS called City Cloud, and we have now created a version of that for compliance customers. And that's the area where I'm responsible for, and that's the service that Folksam and Roger are using. So this is our joint customer case on how Folksam actually got going with OpenStack. So Rod is going to take the main lead, and I'm going to finish off the last 10 minutes. So go right ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger Ewert, and I work for Folksam as an area architect for technology and infrastructure. And I will take you through the journey that we had to the OpenStack cloud. And in the end, I will sum it in more benefits, things to consider, and some lessons learned. But to put you in a context, I need to present Folksam. This is Folksam in some numbers, and we sell insurance, life insurance and non-life and pension solutions. And we are established in Sweden and Finland. We have about 4 million customers, so it's almost every second Swede. And the vision is that we want to that our customer feel safe in a sustainable world. I can't pronounce that. And why I said that is that I see a similarity between mutual companies in insurance sector and open source community projects. And why is that? There's no shareholders that demands profits. A lots of people gets together for a common goal. They enjoy setbacks and even success. But that comparison can be discussed. So then we have the Folksam IT department, and here's some numbers too that shows the volume of our IT department. I don't want to speak more about this, or you can read a little bit, because I will go on and talk about our journey. So, what started our journey? In 2012, we had 10 years of IT starvation. With that, I say we didn't get any funds to do cool things. So, but the business noticed that we must modernize the IT. So they are come with some demands and everything. So we set up a plan for how we would accomplish the demands. At the time, the development and the delivery rate was very low. And we used the waterfall method for development. And we looked at agile methods to use in the future. Our technology and infrastructure was very stiff, heterogeneous, complex, limiting, and very expensive. Very hard to do changes in it. The culture were very pleased and happy. People had low ability to change or want to change. But 2013, me and my colleagues realized that we needed a new architecture to complement to the thier-based architecture. And we needed a new infrastructure capabilities to meet the business and customer demands, both inside and outside Folksam. So under 2 years, we did some work. We started to build an IT innovation process to handle opportunities to use new technology to help the business to come out with different things. For example, we have traffic barometer that we took unique data and combined with Google Maps to see where you have bicycles accident or walk street accidents, and that the business could use to visualize how you could build the society in a better way, to put out rebuild roads or something, for example. That's one example that we did a workshop for 1 day and collected the business and developers and many people with different roles, and created one first version of that software solution. Yeah, let's see here. We looked much how others were using IT in a smart way. So we understood that we must do more with less. At the same time, do things in a smarter way. So we did some evaluations with different interesting technologies. And then we come across something called space-based architecture pattern. A pattern that is different from the traditional thier-based pattern. We went around to do lobbying and anchoring of the benefits of the new technologies through different demos, presentations, and then we consolidated the strategy documents. And why did we do that? We did it because from the beginning we had a technical strategy for infrastructure and technology. And then we have development strategy for application development. But they didn't match always. So we created one strategy that is called solution strategy. And got the red thread through the strategy work. And after that, we write the strategy and got decision to go on with the goals that we had set up. So, what did we found under the evaluations and everything? We found a Java.NET application platform that implemented the space-based architecture pattern, where we could get true linear scalability as you can get. Extreme fast, built on in-memory technology. It was flexible, dynamic, very high automation integrated in the application platform. It was a perfect match for our first customer, for our business case that we were going to switch the homepage solution to a new customer-facing application, including mobile-friendly website. But the application platform needed to have elastic infrastructure. So what did we want to use to support that? The options at the time were these four. We could use the traditional VMware environment, but it hadn't at the time the integrated OpenStack APIs. We could even, in worst case, use the dedicated physical servers, which we wouldn't do. We could use public cloud, but we were not mature to go there. Not even now. We could ask our sourcing partners to build a cloud for us. But we could also build our cloud by our own. So we chose to build our own OpenStack cloud. And why did we choose that? For the first, we saw the big community around it, an ecosystem. And we saw it in 2013 as the real cloud standard. We wanted to learn about and get an understanding of the cloud technology. We also wanted to buy time to handle the security and regulatory demands that we had and requirements. In parallel with the technical solution, go parallel and meet problems that we can handle at the same time. We wanted to get insight and experience to work with other strategy documents like sourcing and cloud. But it was really hard work. Yeah, it was many hours a week, around 50 to 60 hours a week, and even weekends. But here's a picture of one of the first solution that we set up. It's 2 data center sites that we have put up. So we have almost enterprise class, and we use Ceph and we use IPMI to handle the physical machines. So we were pretty proud when we got it up. And a later version of this we used in real business development projects too. But we did a retrospective and reflection of what we had learned. It created some questions. Do Folksam really need to focus on operating an infrastructure service? Probably not. We wanted to more look at the business development and support the business with what they wanted. And something was holy, and that's application infrastructure technology. If you look around about that, how we can use the application infrastructure like Kubernetes, Docker, Mesos, and everything. That's more of what we can see where we can use some business case in a better way, so we can puzzle it for the business. But we had so much regulatory requirements and everything, so were there any out there that could help us? So we started a procurement of a private IaaS cloud service. As usual, it was no different from other procurements, but in this case, we didn't look so much about technical requirements. It's more of the security and regulations, but also a partner that could help us in the DevOps, SysOps area. So it was very many workshops about security and risk. Lots of talk with the lawyers. And setting up definition and everything. So we did understand each other. So after the procurement, we selected City Networks. They had given us a good impression and answers. And they felt that it could help us on the way with the answers that we didn't have at that time. If you looked at City Network, it was a pretty small company, almost the size of an application development management group. So we had a little problem with the leadership and management to say new technology with automation is the future. And City Network don't need to have 2,000 people to support this kind of services. that's the goal with automation and new technology, to make everybody else effective. So after a while, we convinced the management to sign the papers. Yeah. But that was a little bit hard to struggle with. We thought we lost the battle, but we won it. And that I can say from my point of view is that if you look at the big dragons, they have lots of features and everything on their services. But once you have gone in their solutions and services, you don't have the people skills to talk with. That's my point of view. It may be changing. That's why maybe it comes up consultants companies that help you to go to the cloud. But we wanted more of a partnership. So after the papers was signed, we got together employees from City Networks and Folksam to meet each other and set some details in place. And after that, we executed the security checks that we wanted to do. It could be checkups of example how they were building the physical environment and everything. After that, we started to get access to the OpenStack service and building the provisioning and everything. And when we were ready with that, we started to build our CMS, content delivery and application platform that we're going to put on OpenStack. So, since March this year, we have a full environment in production with the customer-facing application with a mobile-friendly website. And here's a little bit of the stack that we have. First, the CMS and content delivery. We have the Java platform that implements the space-based architecture. We have a build and test automation process. A very important thing, operating platform for logging, monitoring, metrics, and alerts, where we use, for example, InfluxDB, tick, stack, and we use Logstash and Redis and everything, as many others. And we have a fully functional configuration managed platform, which is Ansible. We started with SaltStack, but last summer we sat and migrated Salt scripts to Ansible. We chose a different part. And in the beginning we felt it was hard to change these scripts, but it's better to fail fast and learn a lot on the way. Yeah, and then we implemented it on the OpenStack service. So now I come to the benefits. Now we have fast and easy flexible access to infrastructure and even the control. That's very important because in traditional history, then we could wait from 3 weeks to 3 months to get the infrastructure from our outsourcing partners. I ordered myself to build the OpenStack, 10 big bare metal servers to put OpenStack on. It took, I think it was 3 months to get them. And they would only install Red Hat on it. Now it's completely different. It's a question of minutes. We have built and test development of infrastructure with various setups and templates, and we provision it in an automated fashion without human intervention. We did that even when we put up the OpenStack. We didn't do it manually. We did it with Ansible. We have a private cloud service that meet our regulatory requirements and security. We got increased quality. Here is one thing. To version handling your infrastructure as a code, as you do with a business application, all the way, that's a good idea to do. Because, for example, the 10 physical server that we ordered from our outsourcing partner that had Red Hat on it, 5 of them was completely different configured. So when we started, we thought it was from our image, but it was different setups. So we failed the first time to set up the OpenStack on the service. Self-service. The team can serve themselves, but just right now we have a sysop team that handles it for us. So, but we can do it today. We use the same code base all the way from local development computer like this one to production. We only use a switch if it's Vagrant or it's OpenStack. In that way, we can version handle the package all the way. We have an infrastructure that really helps us to do the development in an agile way. And it helps us with innovations. A couple months ago, we couldn't, if we had an idea, we wanted to test. It took so long time to get service to set up and test some solution that we wanted to help the business with. But now, it's just a couple of minutes away. We pay for what we use. Expense close to what the public cloud is. The business is pleased with the increased delivery rate. But we can say we have the ability to deliver. Right now we have a little pause. But we are going to start the new business project now in January. Finally, we got a partner that makes us shine. Something to consider and lesson learned. It's fine to buy a cloud service that is compliant. But what you often forgot is what you put on it. So it's a lot of work to do by yourself to be compliant. So many people thought it was, good, now it's ready. But it's a lot of hard work that you must do yourself. Self-service, very fine, very good. But the problem can be when the development teams don't take down the environments when they're not working. For example, vacations. So all this summer now, all environments was up, but we have no process or routine to take it down. So we must educate our teams. So in the perspective of pay-per-use, it's no effect yet, but we will come there. Another aspect of running all the production environment on your laptop, to have our website installed on this, it creates some security concerns. Now I can go home, sit and hack, and try different attacks without attacking the real environments. So that's something to consider. It's very important to have lawyers and different other roles in the process from the beginning. You can't take them in the end when you're almost ready. Everything you do doesn't go as planned. So be pragmatic and fail fast. Example, SaltStack, that we went to Ansible instead. It's better to take a decision than to wander on 1 year. So, add time and effort to prepare the organization that will take over that you create. In this case, all that we did was we couldn't follow the process that we had inside. So you can call it was a big program with different projects that was like shadow IT. And now we are taking it back and taking it into the process. But if we had to follow the process that we have, we wouldn't be ready today. Don't underestimate the security challenges. And have a plan B just in case. But you didn't know that. Okay, you did. Oh. But we had a plan B if their service was not good enough. Okay, thanks. And start think about multi-cloud, multi-provider, what's called multi-cloud providers and hybrid strategies. It's good to take in the beginning when you think of the architecture and do the cloud strategy work. Think about your own cloud maturity. Take help if you have gaps. It goes so much faster. So now I'm ready. So it's time for Daniel to take over and explain how he met our demands.
All right, thanks a lot. I was part of that contractual process. I can I can attest to the fact there was they put us through the numbers really well. All right, fair enough. We in City Network made a conscious decision to start deliver cloud services to regulated industries in general. Bank and finance is one. It could be automotive. It could be healthcare. We felt that these types of industries have been set back by the fact that, as Roger mentioned, there are cool things out there, but the laws and regulations puts a lid on it, and you're not allowed to use it. And we thought it was really unfair. So we took a conscious decision to try and start to deliver these types of services to these types of companies. What we did realize, though, is that these industries don't move really fast, and it's hard to change. We have bright ideas, and you can try this, and you can do this, and they said, yeah, we could, but in a year or two. All right, so we have to realize that there's a lot of things going on. The big thing for these industries, though, is there's a lot of companies that is trying to be disruptive. And disruptive companies is good in many ways. And as was mentioned this morning during the keynotes as well, you can't really fight the disruptive companies. You have to start to adapt to the fact that they're there and they're going to excel and they're going to make your business and whatever it is going to become better by the mere fact that they're going to change the way you do business. So everything is not conformative for the way we did it for the last 10 years is not going to be true 10 years down the line. And this industry in particular is getting tested by the minute by really disruptive companies. However, the possibilities are endless. And the big thing, what we wanted to provide is a chance for a company like Folksam to become innovative. It has to be. You can't stop. You have to move on. You can't stand still. So you have to move on. Now, when Folksam came with their specifics to us and asked us if we could provide innovation, agility, pay-as-you-go, scalable, flexible, automation, orchestration, we said, of course we can, because that's what we do every day in our public cloud. We have a public cloud called City Cloud, as mentioned before. It's all around the world, and we do all of these things. The big thing, though, that Folksam came with is the regulatory aspects and the regulations they have to follow. The GDPR, for instance, which is the new information security law from EU, which is going to take effect, or already had taken effect, and it's going to be a big game changer for a lot of companies over the upcoming years. Solvency, we had to get accustomed to. Just for information, it's about 2,600 pages of law text, and we went through them all. It was great fun. Just where we were. What we did have to do was to take the bits that actually affected the services that we provide, which is the infrastructure bits. It covers everything, but we just had to read like 400 pages, which was relevant for us. Basel is for banks. It's the same type of directory, but that's for banks. And then you have just the general auditability from data protection authorities. They want to come and check out your data centers, and they want to check out your company and whatever there is that you do. And that's the key. Everything in cloud services today, and I really like clouds, don't get me wrong, I'm one of the biggest cloud evangelists in this country, but I hate the word cloud because it confuses people. Cloud is nothing new. It's the next generation outsourcing. It's the next generation automation. It's the next generation virtualization. That's cloud, right? So when we start to look into these things, whenever you mention cloud to a lawyer in these days, especially to an insurance company or a bank, they say, all right, this is 9 months. Otherwise, we have to redo all the processes. But if you start to narrow it down to what it really is, it's the next generation outsourcing. You need to know where your data is, right? So if you're working for a regulated industry, why accept the fact that you're not allowed to visit the data centers? Why should you just accept a standard agreement and that's it, right? You shouldn't have to. You should have a direct contract with your supplier. So there's nothing different than what you do in a regularly outsources world, right? You would never outsource your IT world without a contract which regulates how, when, and where. And that's the same thing with cloud. And the biggest misconception with cloud is, I don't know where my data is. Of course you do, because we would tell you it's in this specific data center. And then it's up to us as a provider to make sure that the data stays there. That's the aspect which, in this case, was extremely important. So the 2 data centers that Folksam is using today is located in Sweden, and that's by contract. We are not allowed to move it anywhere, and we're not going to move it anywhere. So we have to change the contract module in terms of adding a data center where if they want to move, for instance, Frankfurt, where we have a data center as well. So, but that is by contract, right? So there's nothing new here. We've been doing this for the last 25 years, folks. It's just automation, scalability, and cool features, which they now can use. So we also realized that we cannot put Folksam in our public cloud because of the mere fact that we have thousands of customers in that cloud, and we would have to isolate them specifically as a separate customer, which is pretty much impossible. Because what we have to do as well in terms of the laws and regulations, we have to log everything that Folksam does, because that's according to the law. So we have in our environment now, we realized that, okay, we have to build a new infrastructure. So we have a separate, what we now call a community cloud for insurance companies. So it's separate from our public cloud. You can combine the two because everything they do is not horrible and heavily regulated. Some of it is, and that has to be put in the community cloud, right? So we built a completely separate community cloud in a high security environment. And I mean high security. We have a cage built around our data, our racks, right? It's a Faraday's cage. So if you enter with a mobile cell phone, you're talking it dies when you go into the cage. We have specific log servers, as I mentioned. We have video cameras. We log everything, and we have to by law. The only thing we're missing around that cage is a moat and crocodiles, essentially. That's it. And also, we have to do it in 2 data centers because they want it to be redundant, of course. You can't just stand with one data center. You want to fulfill the SLAs stated by the contract that we have. So we built 2 data centers, one in Stockholm and one in Karlskrona, where we're based. That's our head office, right? And we have also everything set up with our partners. We use Interaction for the facility management in Stockholm. We own we use a separate provider in Karlskrona. We decided to go with Red Hat on the operating system levels and the OpenStack levels, because Red Hat provided excellent features in terms of security. We can actually call them, make sure that they have everything updated, and if anything happens with that distribution, we can claim that against Red Hat, which is also very important. We use Dell as our hardware provider because we've been doing that for a number of years, and they're good friends to us. We could have used HP or anybody else, but we just decided to go with that. Now, as I mentioned before, we can do this in various setups. In terms of Folksam, it's a regulated community cloud, which means it could be shared with other companies in the same regulatory span as Folksam. We can't add a bank, for instance, because they have different laws. They have to be on own separate hardware. That's the law according to the banks. But insurance companies, we can put together with other companies in the same span of regulatory demands, right? So automotive industry, they have their set of demands, so we have to separate them, right? However, we can also, if needed be, for instance, for banks, we can build a private cloud. It's all yours. No one else is going to be there. It's only going to be you. Still, it can be on multiple sites. We can still interconnect them. It's still OpenStack. You get all the flexibility, but you have to pay a little bit more for the hardware that is actually only yours. So a pay-as-you-go model is only functional if you share it with someone else, correct? But we do have a pay-as-you-go model on the private cloud also, but that's a different matter. We can also make a hybrid, meaning if you have a data center already, which you really like, really love, and have services there that you don't want to move to us, and you just want us as a secondary site or just a feel better site, wherever it might be, we can build a hybrid. Because as mentioned this morning, you can take the APIs from OpenStack and you can use Hyper-V or VMware and you can connect them to OpenStack. We run KVM, right? So there's no secret with that. But it doesn't matter. If you have a data center with VMware, we can hook you up and we can create a hybrid. Still fully functional, fully compliant, and according to the laws, if you work in that type of industry. So this is a really, really quick how we did it. Also, I can also fast mention is the ISO standards. It's more for us than it is for the customer, but it's a security blanket, which means everybody knows that we are actually audited by a third-party auditor at least once a year. And we have to, by contract, fulfill that. So if you want to go cloud, if you want to go secure, it's the same thing as everybody else. You just make sure you have a direct agreement with your supplier, and you should be good. With that, I know our time is getting thin, so I'll thank you for your attention, and we're open for questions.
How hard is actually then to deploy basically OpenStack in this kind of heavily regulated companies in general?
Okay, so how hard is it? Okay, it's no different than it is in any type of cloud environment, really. It is everything around it that is different in terms of logging, regulations, data centers, physical access, logical access, and all those things. That's what you add to it, but the OpenStack part themselves is exactly the same. However, there is one asterisk, and that is if the OpenStack community comes up with a module or a new product which we don't feel is secure enough, or it's not production ready, we have the right to say no, essentially. Even though it is a cool feature, we're not going to add it because it's not secure enough. So that's the only difference, really. Sure.
So what services currently are you providing in terms of, like there are fancy services like Sahara or orchestration. Are these available?
Not at the moment. We have... Okay.
So what about the high-level services like Sahara or Heat kind of templates? Are you supporting that?
Almost all of them. We decided for a set of services which we felt was the primary ones. We have the Nova, we have the Neutrons, we're soon going to have Swift for these guys as well. We made the base installation essentially on when we started out, it was on the Kilo version. So we started looking at that. We just upgraded the Liberty. It gives a little bit more flexibility, but since it is a community cloud, it's really up to us to add the service we feel that might gain interest for the users to use. But we have like 6 or 5. We have people in the audience here who can give you all the details afterwards. But yes, sir.
I have a question for Roger.
Yeah.
What was your decision process in choosing OpenStack to work with that platform? I mean, what was the process for you to decide to work with that? Because you could have chosen just about anything else.
Absolutely. But it was, like I said earlier, that we wanted to investigate and learn about how cloud technology works. And we started at the infrastructure level. And then we have moved us up on the way. So we had a parallel task to deliver sourcing and cloud strategies. So we wanted to start and do more about ourselves, but we had the idea to buy it.
So it was a process that came from within the company.
Yeah, yeah.
To explore OpenStack.
Yeah.
Which OpenStack distributions did you consider besides Red Hat, and how did you do that evaluation?
All right, we looked completely and solely on compliance and how far that distribution had come in terms of security, and how interested that distribution provider was to upgrade and keep the security aspects a big portion of what they do. And we did our due diligence, and we looked around, and we just felt most comfortable with Red Hat after we were done. So, but we looked them straight in the eyes and say, if this fails, it's up to you, really, because we are responsible for the infrastructure. We of course we're responsible for the installation and the maintenance of the OpenStack. However, the code itself cannot be our issue, because then we are, once again, back to Solomon. This is not 400 pages now. Now it's the 2,000 we have to be completely compliant or responsible for. So we share the load of responsibility. So that was the main reason. Yes, sir.
So how your data centers are connected? Because I think these kind of application really needs high availability.
We have redundant connectivity through our data center. So these two which Folksam uses is, all right, mine is 10 gigabits, isn't it? Redundant, correct? There, got it. I work with sales. So it's a 10 gigabit redundant communication between the two. It's wavelengths, essentially. And also what we do is we have actually, in this case, we are not the front end for Folksam. They have a different provider, which is the internet front end. So we are actually a back-end installation connected to another supplier where Folksam has their main setup, right? So internet, we don't have in-and-out internet access. So we just make sure that we have the wavelengths up and kicking, and then we have wavelengths to, or fiber connectivity to the second provider. So that's the way we set up.
How much of the work that you've done with this compliance instance has propagated back to the City Cloud service? Are you using different distributions of OpenStack, and what kind of the security checklist basically is something from the compliance installation moving back to the City Cloud installation?
All right, it's a good question. It's a fair question. We actually do not use Red Hat in our public cloud. We actually use Ubuntu and the RDO distribution in our public clouds. So it's a different setup. Or, I'm sorry? CentOS, my bad. It's not Ubuntu. It's CentOS, my bad. All right, cool. Good. It's a good thing you're here. Anyways, I would say this. This is fairly new. This is just a year back, essentially, when we actually launched it. I would say over the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to see more and more of these things start to trickle down back to our public cloud. Now, with that being said, our public cloud is not unsafe. It's a very safe cloud, but we can only take it to a certain degree. We have our ISO 27001 certificate for our public clouds as well. So in that regard, we're good. But when we have to take it a step up, when we have to do all these loggings and we have to isolate the customer, it's almost impossible. So, but I believe, and I since I'm in charge of it, I know it's going to happen. It's going to start to trickle down back to our public cloud as well, because all the things we do here is more or less useful in our public cloud as well. Not all of it, but some of it is. So, I would say that it's going to be in effect the next year or two. We're good? All right. Thanks for your attention.